everybody behind me in the fact that, I cannot substantially document the good that Main Street program has done for me. We feel like, and I've had this discussion with Katie on more than one occasion, we feel like redheaded stepchildren on the third block because everything happens up on the far end of town. I'd like to say that is that I feel like that a merchant board or a merchant driven board or committee or something would better serve this Main Street than the Main Street Walhalla program. The other thing that I would like to say is that, and I've talked to Celia about this before, is that, the entrance into Walhalla from Seneca is an eyesore. I don't know if Mr. Thomas feels the same way or not, but, there is no enforcement on keeping up the buildings, the parking lots, or anything. I don't know why it's not enforced. I know we have policies and we have rules, we have zoning rules, but nothing gets done. And so if I were coming into Walhalla from Seneca and I didn't know the city itself, I'd probably just either take a turn and go somewhere else, or I would just keep my blinders on and go straight through. I just feel like that something desperately needs to be done at the entrance of Walhalla down on that end. We chose where we are, the building that we're in. We try our very best to make it look attractive. There's Sanford and Son on one end, so that's kind of hard for us to overcome, but it is what it is, and we can't do anything about that. We chose where we are because of the parking. We love the parking in that area. So, I just, that's what I wanted to say. I'm not in favor of continuing the Main Street Walhalla program as a merchant. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address council tonight before we close the public comment section?
I would certainly.
If you, and state your name and where you
Sure.
are also.
I am Missy McLean. I am also co-owner with my mom, McLean's, and I also live, people think that's funny, but we live across the street from each other. Me and my mom, we try to take care of each other now that my father is gone. And like my mom said, I appreciate what Katie has done with brochures and social media, and different things like that. I just don't feel like it's enough to bring people to this town. I feel like we are Main Street to the mountains. We are a go-through. We are not a destination point. And I see that this community could be so much more, but I feel like in some ways, only certain businesses get the attention. And if you're going to be a part of the community, then we're all a community. It's Main Street, it's the side streets, it's all of us together. We live here, we work here, you're raising families here. And I feel like we could better benefit if there was a better presence of people that actually own the businesses, which I'm thankful now that we have some of that on council. Because I just feel like sometimes our voice isn't heard. And I think it's important that people know that we care about this community and we want it to thrive. We want people to come here. We want people to shop and eat and see all the museum and all the different cool things we have here. But I just feel like we need to take a different route to get them there. And if we're gonna spend money, I think we need to spend it wisely.
Thank you. Anyone else before we close the public input session?
I would just be. You go first.
I'm up now. I'm nervous. My name is Stephanie. Stephanie Boyks, and I live in Seneca. I'm here to, I guess, just share my experience with Main Street program. And although I agree with, I'm sure that there's so many layers to the Main Street program that everyone can get on different opposing sides and argue it from many different angles, and I'm sure all of it's very valid. So I just thought I would just share what the experience was like for me when I first came to Walhalla and was considering opening up a restaurant. Before I came to Walhalla to even consider, I was living in Seneca, and I reached out to the city there many, many times, and email after email, and to this day, I don't have a response, not a phone call, not a response on an email or anything like that. So when one friend of mine kept encouraging me to look at Walhalla and come to Walhalla, I finally agreed to come to lunch with him. There was no, it was obviously the main people he brought to the table that day was the Main Street director at the time. And that's how I started learning about the Main Street program. And what I learned, what benefited me was, I always kind of felt like it wasn't so much what you knew, it was who you knew. And navigating a new business is very scary, and it's very difficult because you're navigating areas that you've never experienced before. So a lot of your lessons are expensive, which makes a lot of people decide to turn away from moving forward with their passions or their dreams of opening a business in a small town. But for me, having that one person who clearly had their finger on the pulse, who Main Street businesses, what was going on in town, who owned what, who was renting what offered what, having that one person that knew all those ins and outs, somebody that I could speak directly to, who acted as a leader for me, if I had questions or concerns on how to go about things, having that person on speed dial made me feel like I was actually wanted in town, like people really wanted you here, and they were really there to support you. So that was huge for me. So the program brought that for me. And I think it would help other businesses feel that way. If they're considering open businesses here, I think having that one person that makes them feel like they're the most important person there is some value in that. But again, lots of layers to the program. Again, I could get on all angles, and Lord, don't get me started. But I do think it's a program worth maintaining and letting it do whatever it does. And that's it. Thank you.
Okay, is there?
Yeah, that's small.
Lisa.
Hi, Jim Taylor, I was at the tavern. I'd like to say that I also support keeping the Main Street program. I think personally, what they've done, the growth I've seen, I've lived here my whole life, the growth I've seen in Walhalla over the past few years is different than the growth we've seen like throughout the past, because it always seems to stagnate. It grows, then it stops. And I think that having a program, starting a new program, stopping what we're doing right now to try to develop a new idea when what we're doing is working is gonna lead to stagnation. I think that Kitty's done a good job of communicating with merchants. As far as I've seen, she does reach out to me. We have a meeting at the beginning of every month that we're free to attend, and I think that there's a lot of benefits into making sure that town continues to grow. That way, personally, we have more business, more people coming in. I'm seeing a lot of people coming from other areas. They tell us that they're from out of town. They tell us what they like, and what they like recently is what the Main Street program has been doing. The events, the communication with the businesses, the keeping businesses involved, making sure that if we're paying our taxes properly, that it's being used to help us and to incentivize other businesses moving into the area to help the economic growth of the town. That's all I got. Thank you.
All right.
Is the list for him to sign?
Oh, did you
Yeah, it
sign
was
this?
there.
No. Sorry. Okay. Yeah. Do I have a paper?
Where's yours?
I got it. This is so weird. Here, yeah, let's go to your next
speaker, we'll get out of the way.
Alright, we will move on then, we will close public comment if there's no one else who wants to speak. Alright, we'll move to mayoral proclamations. The first proclamation, 2024-04, a proclamation to declare May 5th to 11th as Small Business Week, and that seems to be an appropriate continuation of our discussion of economic development. Whereas small businesses are the backbone of our economy, driving innovation, creating jobs, and fostering economic growth in our communities. And whereas small businesses play a vital role in enriching the fabric of our society, contributing to the unique character and diversity of the city of Walhalla. And whereas small business owners exhibit resilience, creativity, and determination in the face of challenges, demonstrating their unwavering commitment to success. And whereas small businesses are integral parts of our local economies, supporting local causes and fostering connections that strengthen the bonds among neighbors. And whereas Small Business Week provides an opportunity to celebrate the contributions of small businesses and to recognize the hard work and dedication of entrepreneurs and small business owners across our nation. And whereas during Small Business Week, we reaffirm our support for small businesses and pledge to continue providing resources, assistance, and opportunities to help them thrive and succeed. Now therefore, I, Mayor Tim Hall, do hereby proclaim May 5th to May 11th as Small Business Week. I call upon all citizens of Walhalla to join me in recognizing the vital role of small businesses in our economy and supporting these enterprises in their endeavors. And I will add that I strongly believe that small businesses are the lifeblood of any small community.
Do we need a motion?
We need a motion to, what's a proclamation? Do we have a motion to?
Motion.
Second? Unanimous proclamation. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. A proclamation to declare May 15th as Peace Officers Day. Whereas peace officers are the guardians of our communities, tirelessly working to uphold law and order and safeguard the well-being of all citizens. And whereas an unwavering commitment to justice, fairness, and public safety is a cornerstone of our society, promoting peace and security for all individuals. And whereas peace officers often risk their own lives to protect others, demonstrating courage, bravery, and selflessness in the face of danger. And whereas on this day we recognize and honor the invaluable contributions of peace officers within the city of Walhalla, expressing our deepest gratitude for their dedication, sacrifice, and service. And whereas through their compassion, empathy, and professionalism, peace officers foster trust, respect, and cooperation within our communities, promoting unity and harmony among diverse populations. And whereas Peace Officers Day provides an opportunity for all citizens to express their appreciation and support for the vital work performed by peace officers each day. Now therefore, I, Mayor Tim Hall, do hereby declare May 15th as Peace Officers Day. I urge all citizens to join me in honoring and thanking our peace officers for their tireless commitment to protecting and serving our communities. We have a motion on that.
So moved.
Second? All those in favor of this proclamation?
Aye.
And if you see one of our police officers on May 15th or any other day, thank them for their
Dan's here
service.
somewhere.
Is Chief Rice here?
Chief's here somewhere. Target what?
And the final proclamation of the evening is a proclamation to declare April 22nd as Earth Day. Whereas the city of Walhalla recognizes the importance of environmental stewardship and sustainable practices for the well-being of our community and future generations. And whereas Earth Day, celebrated annually on April 22nd, serves as a reminder of our responsibility to protect and preserve the natural resources of our planet. And whereas the city of Walhalla acknowledges the urgent need to address environmental challenges, and whereas every individual, organization, and community has a role to play in promoting environmental conservation and taking actions to mitigate the impacts of human activity on the earth. And whereas by raising awareness and implementing sustainable practices, we can make a positive difference in protecting the environment and creating a healthier, more sustainable future for all. Now therefore, I, Mayor Tim Hall, do hereby proclaim April 22nd, 2024 as Earth Day in the city of Walhalla. I call upon all residents, businesses, schools, and community organizations to join together in celebration of Earth Day by participating in activities that promote environmental awareness, conservation, and sustainable living.
Make a motion. So
Second.
moved.
All in favor? All right, so those three proclamations have been approved. And, I'm sorry? We're going to delay the reading of our resolution, until the recipient of that resolution, of those honors is able to make it.
It may be after, soccer season.
That is so appropriate. This is someone that we're recognizing Tammy Roach for her achievements in athletics, and she's still achieving in athletics. She's continuing to achieve in athletics. Okay, let's move to presentations. The first one up is the fiscal year 2022-2023 audit by Ms. Marcy Lopes from McKinley Cooper and Company.
Hi, I'd like to thank y'all for having me here to give this presentation, and thank you for letting us perform the audit this year. So if it's okay, I'll just hit some highlights, and if y'all have questions, feel free to stop me, or you can contact me later if you'd rather, do that. If I go too fast, just let me know. Just let me go faster. So the first thing I'd like to point out with our audit of June 30th, 2023 is that pages 1 through 3 are what we call our independent auditors report. This is the most important item in the audit to us as independent auditors. And I'm just going to summarize what this says. Basically what this tells you is that we have audited the accompanying financial statements for the year ended June 30th, 2023, and in our opinion, these are presented fairly in all material respects. So in other words, we issued an unmodified opinion, or a clean opinion, if you will. We call it unmodified, but it's a clean opinion, the best opinion you can have. We conducted the audit in accordance with auditing standards, and that your responsibility as management is for the preparation and fair presentation. So basically, y'all are, do your due diligence, and I'm sure you're getting monthly reports and you're getting good information, so that's a good thing to know. I always like to tell everybody that what you're looking at is good information. And if there are any more questions on that, the rest of it just kind of explains more, like, we don't form an opinion on the supplementary information and things like that, but that's more just technical stuff. But if there aren't any questions, pages 4 through 10 are management's discussion and analysis. And if anything, I recommend that you read these pages. I feel like they're the most user-friendly. Do a lot of prior year, current year comparisons and give you some reasons for it. Management, elaborates a little more on why and all that good stuff. So the next part, well, I'm knocking everything off of this. The next is on page 11. It's your statement of net position. It's also like your balance sheet if you like that. So for the year ended June 30th, 2023, the city of Walhalla had total assets and deferred outflows or resources of $44.7 million, total liabilities and deferred inflows of $26.4 million, which left you with a total net position of $18.3 million. Now, out of this, I'd like to point out the net position. 7% of your net position is tied up in fixed assets, so trucks and vehicles and buildings, so you can't use it for payroll, if you will. 79% is restricted for outside sources, so the outside sources have those restricted. But that leaves you 14% unrestricted, so it's good. It's good to see a positive unrestricted. And also included in this, I always like to remind y'all that GASB 68, so the PIBA, the underfunded PIBA amount is in there, and that, for the year ended June 23, it affected, that net position by 4.4 million. So, if we add that back in, we have like a 7.1 million unrestricted. So basically, the PIBA is the underfunded portion, as the city's making its required contributions, we always check that, so you're doing all you can do, you can't pay down that big, there's the big, if you look, net pension obligation of 5.3 million, you know, you can't pay that down, so, you're doing everything you're obligated to do. So for that year, the big items to note where it looks like there was the construction on the, Stump House Bike Park, that was a lot of your expenditures, there was no new debt, and y'all paid off almost 490,000 in debt, so it's good to see that no new, you're making your payments. So if there isn't anything really, any more on that,
So we're in pretty good shape, but we could be better.
well, I mean, everybody can. That's kind of that loaded question, don't ask me that. How do we compare to other cities? I love that one, that's my favorite.
Yeah.
There we go, you're gonna get it from me, that same question. How do we compare to other cities of similar size?
See, I knew that, I always knew that, I just set myself up for that one, it's just so hard to compare. I mean, I do see a lot of cities with the upside down, you know, they have the big negative net position. I mean, we're doing good, it looks like budgeting's doing good, cause I mean, I always look at the budget, so budgeting wasn't way off. I mean, there's always room, like, I don't wanna ask the right question, I think y'all doing great.
So we have a net value of 18 million in positive.
Well, right, I mean, it's good to see a positive unrestricted, I mean, of course, you would always love a little more cushion, but then you're not using your, you know, the whole point is to use your fund, you know, money in, should be money going out, but.
But that's not liquid, I mean, 18 million, that's it.
Well, you have a net, but I feel like what are your total expenditures for the year? What are your budgets? I should remember all this, but I don't, I have to look.
Was it 14.4?
14.4, yeah, so it's what, like about half a year? Half a year cushion. So 50%. I mean, there's some places that'll have more, but then they're not really gonna grow and use, you know. Feel like I know I kinda screwed it around that, didn't I? K-12 is your statement of activities, it's also like your income statement or your profit and loss. And I'll summarize this, cause it's hard to, I feel like, to read all this, but basically, for 2023, you had total revenues of 11.2 million. They were up 1.6% from the prior year. And most of the changes in the revenues were like the governmental, you had a lot of grants in the prior year, so the grants were down this year. Some of those you can't really, you know, they're one-time things, so you can't really expect those from year to year. Your expenses were up 11.8%, and that's a lot of spending that grant money that came in last year, so it's pretty, the water and sewer services revenues were up, so I'm telling y'all nothing on that, so I mean, you know, it was all positive. You had a positive change in net position for last year of 500,000. Any questions on that?
Questions?
No. And the rest of it, the pages, 21 through 44 are the footnotes, and that should explain like more detail, like what makes up your receivables, your fixed assets, your debt, what is your debt, and explains more of your accounting policies. So I always recommend you read those. Your cash was collateralized at June 30th, things like that. So we always like insured or collateralized by, you know, we always like make sure that money you have on at banks is, if something happened, you get it back, because that DIC insurance are collateral, so y'all are covered there, so that's good to know. And then, otherwise there wasn't really anything major to point out, so it's good for that for you. Getting those grants in. Any more questions for me?
Questions? I think not. Thank you, sir. so much.
Very good. Thank y'all. But feel free, if y'all ever have questions, just contact me. I'm happy to answer them. Thank y'all. Thanks so much.
Ms. Myers, this brings up one question before we move on to the audits. Do we keep track of, the businesses that pay H taxes, business licenses and that sort of thing? Is there an audit process for that to make sure that everyone's current and that, so there's a fair that everyone's paying?
Yes, sir, we do have monthly checks, so if there's one that we already know about, we do have a spreadsheet, we know that we can keep. And if there is anyone who is behind, they will get a notification for that. Where we are lacking is there are gonna be some that we don't know about, in particular maybe the accommodations tax or even some business license, their subcontractors, something like that. That is where we're lacking in our audit, and we're trying to make changes to appropriate.
Do we find many that are not up to date on this?
As far as the business license and accommodation, I can't tell you, very much. The ones that we know about, they are up to date. We only have a couple with hospitality, and we do inform them and we keep them. We probably have about 3 or 4 on an ongoing basis.
Thank you.
We're logging on for Chris Whiteside soon. If you're
Next
ready.
presentation, we're ready. Enterprise Fleet Management, Chris Whiteside.
Mr. Mayor, can we take 5?
Of course we can.
We'll go ahead and get this up.
Well, you got this up, let's take 5 minutes.
No, I stepped in late because I had hand practice. I would have cried if I lost my paper. I was trying to put a seal up. Hey, Brandon,
Have a little bit of break. Stand up break. Oh, you got a two-handed nose. Oh my
Somebody's got to do it.
hey, chicken day. Hey, chicken day. Hey, Miss Amy. Okay, I'm
Where are we going tomorrow?
Back to work. I need to talk to you because I talked to a group of them. I should mention your name 2 weeks ago in the group that you do. So we need to reconnect because I have some kids too who are interested. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Yes, ma'am. Yes, and we're gonna make sure we hear all the concerns. Yes. Thank you. Hey guys.
Presentation on enterprise fleet management by Chris Whiteside.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Welcome, Mr. Whiteside.
We're ready for you.
We're ready for you.
Audio.
Turn it wide open so I can hear it.
Can you speak to see if we can hear you?
Yeah, are you ready?
Welcome, Mr. Whiteside.
Oh, thank y'all. Sorry about that, but yeah, if y'all can hear me okay, I'll kind of get started, but no, thank y'all for having me tonight. Just kind of give you a quick overview. My name is Chris Whiteside, so I'm with Enterprise Fleet Management. So we are a division of Enterprise Rent-A-Car. We focus on long-term fleet management for government and commercial entities. So across the country, we partner with about 2,000 cities and counties. Here locally, there's about 40 that we work with in South Carolina. Few of y'all are probably familiar with would be like Blacksburg, Barber County, Kershaw County, Saluda County. We work with some as large as Richland County and as small as, some other smaller cities in South Carolina. But I put together a fleet synopsis, which I believe is in y'all's packet, and I can share my screen as well. Sure. Sorry, give me. See if it'll allow me to share. I'm not sure if it'll allow me to share, but are y'all able, do y'all have a copy of the fleet synopsis? I believe it was in the packet. Oh, there we go. I believe it's allowing me. There we go. Does that work now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So this is a quick fleet synopsis, and I won't take too much time walking through it, but I just want to give you all kind of a quick overview of where your fleet is today. and then what some of our recommendations would look like. Our program is it's very much geared towards whatever the city's needs are. So a lot of times we'll put together recommendations and then they'll change based on y'all's needs, questions, feedback. So this kind of gives you a quick overview. Right now, when you take a look at y'all's fleet where it is today, about 38% of the light and medium duty fleet is over 10 years old. About 64% of it is over 6 years old. And the average age is about 9 years. Based on what y'all currently been spending or currently been purchasing, your current acquisition rates, it take about 9 to 10 years to cycle through your vehicles. And then, we estimate y'all's current maintenance spend to be around $94,000 annually. So, what we know, and most of you are familiar with, is older vehicles do have higher fuel costs, higher maintenance costs, start to have issues with reliability and downtime, and often have lost productivity. So our goal, partnering with Enterprise, our goal was to help identify an effective vehicle life cycle to maximize resale at the time, so move towards a healthier rotation to capitalize on resale and reduce lighter operating expenses. Our goal would be to shorten y'all's current life cycle from about 9 to 10 years down to just under 4 years. Our recommendation was to replace around 20 vehicles in the first year, so we had 21 targeted. I know some of those may be spares or underutilized, so maybe not be able to reduce that number, but if you were to sell your 21 oldest vehicles, we'd expect them to bring about $103,000 resale. We are projecting about a 71% reduction in maintenance, and then we would expect obviously fuel savings and then a lower, more sustainable cost moving forward with the program through Enterprise. We do use an open-end equity lease, which I'll walk through here in just a second, but it does have no mileage penalties, no wear and tear. It really resembles a finance. And that's what about 99% of the government entities we partner with do take advantage of. Couple other things to note with the age of the vehicles: about 15% of y'all's vehicles do predate anti-lock brake standardization. About 34% of them predate electronic stability control standardization. And then about 65% of them predate the backup camera standardization. So just some additional safety features that you'll see with newer vehicles. So some things to keep in mind. Enterprise isn't part of Sourcewell, so it's a national purchasing cooperative that the city is already a member of. That is how the majority of these government entities have partnered with Enterprise. So partnering with Enterprise and proactively planning replacements, we would expect Walhalla to be able to replace all of their vehicles over a 5-year period. They project a savings of around $293,000 over the next 10 years. As we move, as we move to the next slide, you'll see a fleet profile. So this is a snapshot of where your fleet is today. And essentially it breaks down your fleet by age and mileage and type and shows what an ideal replacement plan would be. So you can see year 2024, these are the 21 vehicles that we recommended replacing based on age and mileage. The following slide is a fleet analysis. So I know this is a busy slide and I won't get into all the details on it. But essentially it is comparing what y'all are currently spending today to what a program with Enterprise would look like. So the yellow or orange line is basically showing what y'all are spending today. So on average, your fleet budget would be around $384,000 today. Year 24 through 33 show what it would look like to transition to a program with Enterprise. The fleet budget number shows kind of where your fleet budget would be each year. And then the net cash number is essentially comparing the fleet budget to your current fleet budget number. And the 10-year savings is essentially looking at what your fleet savings would be over that 10-year period. The next slide shows again, shows an example of what those 21 vehicles we recommended replacing were. So sometimes the fleet planning analysis, which is a 10-year projection, is great to show the sustainability of a program with enterprise. But a lot of times we'll look at, hey, what would our cost be if we were to replace a certain number of vehicles this year? So maybe our budget number is, in this example, $226,000. So you're showing replacing 21 vehicles. You have the lease terms and the annual mileage here, and then we can see the monthly cost and your annual lease cost. So these numbers match up to that previous slide. The 226 is what that lease cost would be in the first year. So as we kind of evaluate y'all's fleet a little bit more and get a better idea of exactly what y'all may need, this would probably come down, and there may be a lower number here. The following slide just shows a snapshot of kind of where y'all's fleet is. The recommended replacement years is essentially showing what vehicles we recommend replacing in what year and what they would be replaced with. You have the autonomy to decide what vehicles need to be replaced, what they're replaced with. But this is just a sample of kind of what our projection would look like. The next couple of things, kind of as you continue, we do touch on our account management team. So if you partner with Enterprise to acquire vehicles, we assume to flow through there where you've got great insight on your data. I did put some information in here about our maintenance programs. We offer a couple maintenance programs. They essentially kind of work together. So the full maintenance program is a fixed monthly cost. Essentially, you pay one fixed cost to Enterprise, and we cover all maintenance on your vehicle for the life of the lease or the life of the term. This is available on non-pursuit rated vehicles. So we can't put it on patrol vehicles, but any other vehicles in y'all's fleet we can add this to. And then we also offer a pass-through program, which is called maintenance management, that could go on the remainder of your fleet, even vehicles that y'all own today. The way it works is every vehicle has a maintenance card. Whenever they need service done, they go to one of the vendors that set up with Enterprise in the community. We would contact those vendors. We would approve the repairs. We're going to make sure you're getting government pricing or the best pricing that's out there. We're going to pay those vendors directly, streamline it to your monthly invoice. We handle all the billing. We handle all the approvals. So we make it a very easy, streamlined process for you. Typically, you'll see some savings there from automating that through Enterprise. The one other piece I wanted to touch on was the funding side. So the vehicles through Enterprise are set up on an open-end equity lease. It resembles a finance, but it does have a couple differences. That picture there kind of gives you a snapshot of what it looks like. So this example shows a $42,000 vehicle. A traditional finance, you would pay that vehicle down to $0 over a 48-month period. So you take a $42,000 vehicle, pay it down to 0. At the end of 4 years, in this example, it's worth $22,500. So if you were to sell it, you would get that full amount back. Your monthly depreciation would be around $875 in that scenario. What we typically recommend is to look at the open-end lease or the equity lease. So in this example, you take that same $42,000 vehicle, instead of paying it down to 0 over a 4-year period, we would pay it to a residual or an unpaid principal of $10,000. The benefit there is cash flow. So now you're only financing $32,000 of that vehicle, so your monthly depreciation is about $667, so about $200 per month less. At the end of the term, the vehicle's paid to $10,000. It would still be worth about $22,500 if it was sold. So you would get the $12,500 back versus the full $22,500. Sometimes government entities, as they're looking to move to a better rotation, they're looking to replace more vehicles than they traditionally have. This can be a really effective tool because it allows you to lower your monthly and annual cash outlay. You still have unlimited miles, you still have no mileage penalties, wear and tear, anything like that. Just gives you some flexibility. We can structure them as a traditional finance if you felt more comfortable with that, but this does give you kind of a different option. And then touching on the resale piece, when it does come time to resale vehicles, that is one of the areas that Enterprise excels. We are able to sell vehicles that y'all own and vehicles that are leased or funded through Enterprise. Our process, the way our process works, we pick up the vehicle, we de-logo it, we remove any kind of equipment that's on there, and then we take it into the market and sell it on your behalf. So we've got over 700 remarketers that will rep these vehicles out to franchise dealers, auctions, independent dealers to try to find the highest price for you. And then lastly, the next couple of things, I do have a case study in here, which just gives you an idea of another government entity that's partnered with us. And then lastly, I've got a few references on here. Again, we've got a lot more in South Carolina, but I just picked a few here, and put some contact information for those. So, we've got a lot of great references that would be happy to speak on our behalf. But again, our program is different for every entity. And I'm happy to answer any questions. Sorry, I know that's a lot of information to run through quickly, but happy to answer any questions and providing more insight.
Thank you for a good presentation, Mr. Whiteside.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Anyone have any questions?
Ciphering all this.
I just, can you just explain a little bit more about the maintenance on the program, if it's
Yeah.
the lease side of it? What I understood from what you said was, we still pay the maintenance on these vehicles, or is that part of the lease program?
Yes, sir. So the vehicles are, essentially, they are owned by you, so they're gonna be registered to the city, so any maintenance you would be responsible for. We do offer a couple different maintenance solutions. So the full maintenance program is a fixed guaranteed cost. So for a certain dollar amount per month, you can pay Enterprise and we will cover the cost of all maintenance for the life of the lease. So if you think about a pickup truck on a 5-year term that's going about 12 to 15,000 miles per year, you may pay Enterprise $60 a month or somewhere in that range, and we would cover all maintenance for that full 5-year period. When the maintenance is done, we take it to one of the local vendors, they complete the work, we pay them, we handle it all, we pay that one cost.
Mr. Whiteside?
The maintenance, oh yeah, sorry, go ahead.
We had a question on that.
Except for patrol vehicles. Y'all won't do those.
Correct,
Okay.
correct. We can put that on all vehicles except for pursuit rated, vehicles. But we do offer our maintenance management program on all vehicles. So typically what we'll see when cities partner with Enterprise is they will put our full maintenance program on new non-police vehicles. And then they would put our maintenance management program on all the rest of their vehicles. Because that's gonna allow you to manage maintenance on all of them. Some of them would have a fixed cost, some of them would be a pay as they go. But it still gives you visibility, it's gonna give you tracking, it's gonna give you insight on all of them.
All right, thank you for that.
Yes, sir.
Any more questions for Mr.
I
Whiteside?
have one. So as, just layman's terms for me, and you might have mentioned it, I just didn't catch it. How, we've got these 21 vehicles, how is it that say we want them all go to this lease program, how do they get the lease phased in? How does this work?
So the way it would work is so every vehicle would have its own individual, lease quote, essentially. So we would look at what vehicles you need to replace, and if we identified 21 vehicles and said, hey, these are what your ideal replacements are gonna be. Enterprise will go out and source those vehicles, so we will either acquire them through state contract dealers if they have them available, or we'll order directly from the manufacturer with government incentives. We'll have those vehicles go through a dealer, they'll be prepped at the dealership, and then we would deliver them to you turnkey, ready to go. For a law enforcement vehicle, we would take it to the, equipment upfitter, help with that process. But you would not start paying for vehicles until they're delivered to you. So if y'all said, tomorrow you wanted 21 vehicles, we would go out and start sourcing them, and then as they're delivered to you, over the course of, the next several months, depending on how long it took to get them to you, billing would start for those vehicles. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. And so it's up to us to say, okay, we need to replace this vehicle, and so we just say, hey, this one we're interested in doing now. in 3 months, we could say, now this one, we wanna add to that. A year down the road, now these three, am I seeing that right?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll of course give recommendations based on age, mileage. As we start to manage your maintenance, we can start to get a better idea of what it's costing you to operate your fleet to give you better recommendations. But yeah, ultimately the decision is the city's.
Okay, now, this isn't, we're not talking about, big trucks, garbage trucks and fire trucks. Is that correct?
Correct. We can do, so we can't do ambulances or fire trucks or garbage trucks. We can do some of your bigger, like service body trucks, crane body trucks, brush trucks for fire. So we can do some, but the core focus would be kind of your non-CDL type vehicles is typically what we say, but any of your service body trucks and pickup trucks, that's kind of, and police vehicles is typically where our primary focus is.
Okay, and then with the full maintenance plan, and you have
Yes,
this,
sir.
how do you figure the price on this full maintenance plan?
So it's mileage based, so essentially we look at what we anticipate your mileage will be, and we basically look at what is it gonna cost to maintain that vehicle over a 5-year period or over that set period, and then we just amortize the cost over the period and bill it to you essentially. So we've got, I think we have over 700,000 vehicles on our maintenance program across the country, so we've got a pretty good idea of what it costs to maintain them, and we just estimate that and average it for you, so you all pay one fixed cost.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, anybody else have any more questions for Mr. Whiteside? Mr. Whiteside, thank you very much for your presentation, that was very informative.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all. If you need anything, don't hesitate to reach out.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda will be the history of the Walhalla water system, and Councilman Keith Pace will give the presentation. I have to say, I've been looking forward to this.
Well, I'm no public speaker, but I appreciate all these people.
Well, they appreciate it.
Anyway, I'm gonna start off with, what the city has done for quality of life for people here that live here and visit here. The vibrance of downtown has just, you can't even explain the change in the last 20 years of what has come, with the council and the city employees and the public's input to get where we're at with our downtown. We have numerous parks that the city owns, the Tacoma Field, the playground at the pool, we have the pool, the depot, the mountain bike stump house park. I mean, the city has a lot. The beautification of Main Street, the new greenway that's almost finished phase 1. I mean, it's just a lot that goes on that everybody sees and admires and enjoys. And then there's all the other parts of quality of life that you don't see, and that's the water. So we put together a little presentation to kind of touch base on where we started in 1923. The city of Walhalla decided to provide water for the town. It come off of Issaquena. I've been up there. It is amazing to see that place and what happened in 1923. And it rocked on till 1963. And then Conroe started. And that's kind of where I'm gonna step in, and Ms. Kelly's gonna help me with some, we put together a little presentation of photos that kind of goes along with what I'm talking about. Some of the pictures are not exactly to fit what I'm talking about, but it just shows you some of the history of our plants and where we've started and where we're at now. And I'm gonna just touch base for the last 10 or 12 years, what we went, our accomplishments on water and what's been spent by this city on water. Starting back in 2012 and 14, the city had the Chicopee Mill Hill project, which was they applied for two CDBG grants that totaled to $500,000, and this was through ACOG for replacing lines on the Mill Hill, which was South Spring, South John, Lucas Street, James Street, Burner, Wesley, Gerber, and Parker. And those lines had been in the ground since 1930. And 2012 to 15, in that era, the technical part, Oconee Technical Park on Highway 11, new water lines were installed to that system. Additional work required after the park opened for the pressure needs that was required. In 15, the streetscape project, as part of that city's streetscape, all the water lines on 4 blocks of Main Street were replaced. And along with that was some sewer work was replaced. Them lines had been in the ground for over 75 years. And then 15, along comes the consent order from DHEC on our old water plant, the one out at Conner Ross. A new plant had to be built or sourced elsewhere. City council staff and engineering firm began a cost analysis on the issue at hand. Eventually, the city had to receive help from Duke Energy to be able to start the project. Permits were applied through DHEC and the DNR and Federal Energy Regulation Commission. At the same time, the city went through the design process and acquiring funding for the bonds, and this took roughly 5 years. In 16, out on Hefner Road, 1.7 miles of 12-inch pipe underground took place at Hefner Road to increase pressure and allow for new customers. 2018, Westminster Line. Walhalla applied and was awarded a grant for a water line to connect our system to the city of Westminster's on Highway 11. The total cost was over $600,000, including a $118,000 grant match by the city. Cane Creek Sewer Basin, initial cost estimated for this project began. The whole process included the grant application, engineering, bidding, and contracting. The project was from 2018 to 21. It included replacing sewer lines, new manholes from North Laurel Street to North Catherine Street. This project was more than $572,000. In 2019 and 20, the Stribbing and Shows Road project started because there was numerous customers with low pressure. The city installed a new pump station after engineering work was completed. In 2020, Rock Crusher Road, the city replaces a section of line along Rock Crusher Road that was consistently breaking in that area. The heavy gravel truck traffic was thought to be part of the issue. Also in that time frame, a new line was installed along Mill Street. The city did line work and the developer paid for some of the initial cost, and this was for some housing. In 2020 to 22, meter replacements. Replacement of over 500 inoperable meters, water meters, at a cost of $150,000. At that time, meters were in short order due to COVID, but to date, over 2,120 meters have been replaced. In ARPA funds, along that same timeline, City Council approved a plan to use those funds with the county reimbursement to replace water lines going up Highway 11 from West Union with 2 miles of 12-inch line to help with low pressure in that area. That was $2.5 million approved. 23, the city staff applied for and was awarded a $10 million grant from the South Carolina Rural Infrastructure Authority to replace water lines and sewer lines on the northwest side of Main Street. City Council agreed to a 10 to 15 match grant that was required. 24, after several years of staff work, a bridge crossing on 183 toward Westminster is finally ready to begin. This, and there was also just a portion of line on South Broad Street replaced. This list goes on and on and on. Here's just a little overview of what we just talked about. But the whole point of this presentation is I want the citizens of this town and citizens of our service to know what we've been up against for the last 10, 12 years. Our water crew is to the point of exhaustion, from rapid growth, continuing line repairs, expansion they are not properly equipped to keep up with. The city of Walhalla is at that point that something needs to be done. Although customers continue to grow, personnel has not. With a small base rate adjustment, a 3-man crew can be hired and trained to help maintain the quality of service that we strive to give them. In 2002, the water department had 15 employees. But then in 2014, the department decreased to 12 employees. There has been 12 employees in this department since 2014. But each year, the number of taps increased over 100%. Let that soak in. This rate adjustment is it's a small, you're talking a couple of dollars a household, but it puts, tremendous assets to our department that serves your needs. This is something that we take for granted. When you turn that spigot and the water don't come on, you call and scream. But other than that, you just expect it. These guys have worked the times they've been out there in the dark, holidays, missing their family at Christmas, because they're supplying our needs. And it's time for us to suck it up and take care of this problem. These guys are one of I don't want to thrive on somebody else, but a lot of departments, because of technology and the growth of the way things work these days, the manpower can be taken down. This department is not that. They work with their hands, with a shovel and a backhoe in the dirt and water every day to supply us with our needs. So I hope you guys understand this. This is where we're going. This is our discussions for budgets this coming year. And it's a small request to give a big hand to a needing department. And then in addition to that, we will be discussing impact fees on our water. That does not affect anybody that's on our system. This is to help take the burden off of you for new people that sign on and take a tap on our system. And that's it. If you have any questions about it, our guys are back there. Scott, Zane, come up here and let the people see who takes care of them. Thank you, guys.
I want to say that sometimes when we look at the things that we need to do in front of us, we forget just how far we've gone over the last decade and more, and how much progress we've made. It's thanks to employees like you all. And as we look to the future, we're planning to. We know that you guys are working nonstop. We know you're overworked, and we know that a lot of times you sacrifice. I've seen the pictures of your team up in waist-deep mud at night, on a cold winter night, fixing, many a time, fixing leaks so that people can have clean water. And that's a noble thing to do. Not only is that a good thing for the city, that's a noble thing to do. And I thank you for that. And I'll tell you, you heard Councilman Pace speak. This council is appreciative of the work you do, appreciative of all that you do, and we're working to make sure that the citizens of Walhalla continue to receive good service and even better service by helping you get the resources that you need so we can take care of our citizens and those who depend on the Walhalla water system every day. So thank you.
Well, thank you. We appreciate it. Our guys appreciate it. We really appreciate the support. So
Am I allowed to say something right now?
You can say something,
Okay.
Mr. Based on.
My name is Liz Kimmer, I live in Mountain Rest, but Walhalla's my town. So just thinking, how can we get creative about water fees for those of us that don't live in the city limits? I know that may not be a supported idea, but I use the water in Walhalla. I just don't live here. So I don't know, business-wise or impact-wise, I don't know, I'm just throwing that out there, that as a non-resident of Walhalla, I would be willing to contribute to the water situation, because I use it. Thank you.
Councilman Page, you're forward.
I think I've covered everything. Yes, ma'am.
This is kind of weird, but you said that the old water system was 75 years old when they redid it downtown? 75 years old, the pipes?
Some, the lines were in the ground.
Lines, right.
Not all.
What were those lines made out of? Cast iron?
Yeah, some was cast.
What were they
plain.
made out of?
Cast iron.
So how did they go about connecting where that ended to like, I guess it's PVC, the new stuff is,
What we actually put in is,
How do you
it's a
connect
newer
it?
version of iron pipe.
uh-huh,
So it's made to last even longer, but,
okay.
the old pipe was what they called sand cast. And some of it was mostly round, but
Right,
they were able to tie back to it, their fittings for that, so we just tied everything back together
wow.
as we went along.
I read somewhere that civilization goes hand in hand with having clean water. If you don't have, I mean, it's that, no, really, it's that serious. Yeah, it is. It's true. They're not going
Francis,
anywhere.
you need to ask him one more question.
What?
How old still are some of our lines?
Oh, we still have some of those old pipes somewhere.
We know we've got more
Some
items, it's
that
just
are-
kind of,
Over 100 years old now. They were installed when the original plant on the mountain.
Oh, wow. And we'll be hearing from them, won't we?
We hope not, but
Oh.
they're on our list.
Okay, well, thank you.
Well, they,
yeah, thank you, and also credit the leadership over the past decade, the technical improvements that we've gotten on, so I can't take credit for it, because I've been here 3 months.
Mayor Tim, may I say a comment in regards to that comment that you mentioned about the prior leadership? We have currently a photo that was shared that we had a former council member that was on that picture in the 2020. And I just want to acknowledge Mr. Honorable Dennis Owens and Keith and I.
And you all were part of the prior leadership, as well as Councilman King. So.
Yeah, and Keith and I sat with Dennis Owens on council, so I want to acknowledge that. And as well, just thank the leadership of the water committee, because the majority of your body that's present here attended a water tour that was guided by our professionals, our director for our water department, and we were really informed, hands-on learning. So I do appreciate Grant King under his leadership and Mr. Keith Pace coordinating that, so thank you.
All right. We'll move on to a presentation by the Main Street Walhalla Board.
Good evening. Good evening, Mayor, Council, everyone that's here. I do want to be sensitive to your time. I know you guys have been here a long time. It looks like you'll be here long after. So anyway, my name's Darryl Broom, and I serve on the board for the Main Street Walhalla. I do want to just pass through that real quickly. I don't want to go into, I don't want to bore you with details, but I do want to, this is just kind of a snapshot of some of the stuff that the Main Street Group has been doing with Katie's help over the last 6 months. And you can see a lot of those dollars have been spent on advertising, billboards, promotional items. A great example is if you go into a welcome center in the state of South Carolina, you're gonna pick up a brochure about Walhalla, which I think is important. Also, although the main vision and purpose of Main Street has been debated about events, I think events are good for our city, but some of the events, you'll, look, just since September, of course, the Hispanic Heritage Festival, which I would say was a huge success, and then anyone who was on Main Street or in Walhalla during Christmas time in Winter Wonderland, there was a lot of folks, a lot excited, even though the weather wasn't great. So, anyway, I can answer some questions in just a few minutes if anybody has any questions about that. I will mention, just kind of as a side note, I don't know how many people even know about Blue Ridge Outdoors, but it's actually a magazine that is published out of Virginia. They do have an office in Asheville, and they were here recently and did a great article about Walhalla. Enjoyed a great meal at Trailhead, and then went and had some conversation with Tim Owens at his place, and he writes all about it in the article, so we are being noticed. I'm not taking credit for the, I don't know this guy, I'm not taking credit, I'm just saying we are being noticed, and advertising promotion does work. So I just want to, I know there's been a lot of discussion about moving forward, should we move forward? I just want to give you what my thoughts and the board thoughts are if we choose to do that. I think there's a few things that we need to consider. One of them is our commitment and our relationship with Main Street, South Carolina. There is a category that we can fall back to called Friend of Main Street. It's $400 a year to be considered a friend of Main Street, which is less than what we're doing now. Their only requirements are that we have a designated contact person, which can be someone on the board, whoever we decide, and they do require a letter from the city saying you support us being a friend of Main Street. I think what that would do, other than save us a ton of money, would allow the board and the volunteers to direct their attention away from being accredited, and spend it on truly doing the things which I think would benefit the city. So that would be one suggestion. I also think we have got to expand and develop our partnerships, and that would be with the Performing Arts Center, our museums, the Chamber, Visit Oconee. There are so many organizations who are targeting the same people, or even if they're a different population, trying to get them to come to Walhalla. We need to make sure that they don't just know about the shows at the Performing Arts Center, but they know what Miss Lynn's doing that weekend or that Thursday or whatever the case may be. So I do think that's something. I also think we need to expand our scope. If you look at what just the Main Street, South Carolina program promotes, it is a small designated area, Main Street, but a small section of that Main Street. I'm not sure that serves our city well. Ms. Lynn made a great point. To me, it needs to include our city, and that being Main Street, that being the businesses off of Main Street, the property on 28, Stump House Tunnel, the population that is at Sertoma night after night after night. We need to make sure that we are targeting those folks, letting them know what is going on in our city and what is going on with our businesses. So we have to engage and energize all of our assets and all of our businesses. So as it comes down to a budget question, and I know that's going to be a large discussion, if council decides that the budget needs to be adjusted, and maybe funding for a full-time executive director is not in those plans, I would ask that council, and the board would ask that council would consider reducing our request to $25,000, which would allow us to use money on hand, grants, sponsorships. Some we've gotten in the past, some we're chasing now. And at the point where the board feels we are ready to move forward, maybe using a part-time executive director or a part-time staff person to help the board implement the program. So I know that's quick, but I wanted to kind of give you an overview of, or a snapshot of some of the stuff we've done. But I also wanted to tell you how I feel like the things, the basic things we need to do to move forward. So I hope that's helped. And the biggest thing, we just need to engage and energize and support what I feel like is our biggest asset in Walhalla, and that's our small business owners and their employees who come every day and invest their time and their lives to make Walhalla a place that people want to come visit and live. So, any questions? I will say, I'm sorry, I will say, you know, I think promotion and advertising works. If you just look at our, and I don't do social media. I just got rid of my bag phone not too long ago. But our Facebook has 8,000 followers, 1,600 on Instagram, and already this year we've had 35,000 hits on TikTok. So anyway, so promotion does work. And again, I'm not saying we're responsible, that Main Street's responsible, or any one group's responsible for everybody that's walking on Main Street, but the majority of those folks are not finding us by accident. So, I will be quiet now.
I wanna kick this off with a couple of comments. When I left Walhalla, 23 years, in 2001, when I left Walhalla, I was worried about my hometown. Walhalla was a town, and those of you who weren't there then, or those of you that weren't here when I was coming back for, after service overseas, visiting Walhalla, if you didn't see it, then that's probably good, because I thought Walhalla was a city on life support, and I wondered how much longer is this gonna continue? How are we gonna have one of my real concerns was how are we gonna have the revenue base to continue providing, services like water, fire, police protection. Those things concern me. And this is me thinking long before I ever ran for office or anything else. This is a citizen coming back with concern to the town. Now, and I'm looking at what you wrote, and I just highlighted something. If you visit Walhalla on a Thursday, Friday, or Saturday evening, you will find our restaurants overflowing with customers. We are all part of the success of this town, where it is right now. I do not want Walhalla to go backwards. And I don't think that's where we wanna be. I think, Francis, you mentioned the 3 phases we went through. I remember the great antique store phase, when everybody had an antique store, and that didn't work out
Thrift
so well.
stores and drugstores.
So, and that said, I listened to you, to what you were saying, and you're talking about that you all are rethinking your approach, which is good, and I love the observation, I think, as Ms. McLean was mentioning, hey, where are you? Where are you when we need you? Where are you in the side streets? Where are you in the downtown area? And you listen, you all listen, it sounds like you've all thought that out well in advance of her even making the comment. I think, you spoke about the focus on small businesses, and I would love just to foot stomp that, because, yes, sir, the lifeblood, as we said earlier, of small towns, the lifeblood is gonna be small businesses. We can't compete with Walmart, we can't compete with Amazon, we can't compete with a lot of these things. What we can compete with is what makes us unique. And emphasizing that, and what has gone right the last decade, something's gone right, because you go downtown Walhalla, my wife will tell you, she's sitting right there, that I go downtown and I just kind of like driving around a while. So, and I'll tell you, I think everyone is for seeing the economic development and growth in Walhalla continue. I think a lot of folks want to make sure that it is more expansive, and that it is more equitable, that it encompasses more areas of the town. But I will assure you that every single person, as I said at the beginning of this meeting, on this council has the best interest of Walhalla at heart. But thank you very much. Does anyone else, Mr. Thomas, you?
Yeah, I got a few questions.
Anybody else?
So, I'm going easy on you first one. I won't make you answer this first one. So when Jenny Bolair from Main Street, I guess out of Columbia, came up, I didn't mean to put her on the spot, but I did ask her. in 10 or 20 seconds, can you give us a synopsis of what Main Street does? And I know personally, being on the original board of the Main Street program a few years ago, I resigned from the post not knowing what to tell people what Main Street did as far as the program's concerned. And I've asked several board members, and we've talked about stuff like that. I don't want to put you on the spot. That's why I told you earlier today. I was like, oh, I didn't know you were going to be the president. But can you give me 10, 20 seconds?
Yeah, I can't do anything in 20 seconds.
Can you just tell me real short, like based on what you gave me, what I'm thinking is marketing
I'll
and
give you
events.
kind of the elevator
Okay.
speech. I think the main role of Main Street is to promote the city, engage the businesses, and to let the world know what's going on. I don't see the role of Main Street is for someone to walk in with an idea and a performer and us give them a business plan. That to me, that's not business development. Really,
Sure.
any economic development tool, 75 to 80% of what they do is promotion. What Jamie does every day at OEA is to make sure the world knows about Oconee County.
That's right.
So I feel like the main role of Main Street is to engage all of our assets, our history, our natural resources, our small businesses, Performing Arts Center, and then make sure we're building those partnerships and promoting those assets
Okay.
to the world at large.
Okay, that sounds good. Based on what you gave us just a second ago, this is a little bit new to me in the sense of, because it's always seemed to be explained in a jumbled up way. This is very clean cut. Are we saying that the Main Street program is a marketing and events planning program? Is that what this is?
I would say the Main Street, if you talk to South Carolina, Main Street, South Carolina, they do not.
They do not.
They do not.
No.
I'm saying that when I meet with our board and talk with Katie and talk with the folks in Walhalla, they do see us as a promotion, engaging, working with other partners, and I do think events play into that.
Oh, yeah, I think honestly, I don't know how many, and I'll speak from experience, I don't know how many business owners know about all this marketing, which sounds really, really good, and it's benefiting, I assume customers, benefiting owners for customers to come in. But events, they would articulate that is what at least a lot of them assume is bringing in business for them. And it's just to my knowledge and hearing that we're not really an events planning thing, and we're kind of get away from that. But to take the emotion out of it, what are we? Are we a marketing, promotion, events? Or are we an economic driver where we're actually recruiting businesses and entrepreneurs to come here?
I mean, I wouldn't consider the Main Street program a recruiter.
Okay.
Now, if someone reaches out, but we're not going to trade shows.
Okay.
We're not advertising in business magazines.
Sure.
We don't have experts on hand to help folks with a business plan and to go to the state or whatever and ask for tax credits or anything like that.
Yeah.
We don't have that expertise.
Okay.
I don't know of any business who has said, I'm in Walhalla because you have a Main Street program.
Sure, yeah.
I think they're here because the environment and the assets that were promoted, they said, we want to be in Walhalla.
Yes.
So to be honest with you, I'm not sure our name's not wrong.
Yeah, well, so I got some more questions.
I'm not
I'll
a marketing.
No, that's okay. So I know the answer to this, I just want to hear you tell me this. The Main Street, is Main Street program, is it responsible for the landscaping downtown?
No.
Is it responsible for installing trash cans along the sidewalk?
I would say, I've never, well, I take that back, I have drug trash cans on.
Sure, yeah.
I'm not saying
I know
that's the
they've
role
been
of
painted
Main
before.
Street, but if that is, if that is important to a business, or if that is an issue, I think it's the role of Main Street to make that issue known and try to work on the
Yeah,
solution.
I know that has been an issue in the past. Clearly, they're not in charge of, Main Street's not in charge of enforcing code. We do have a code, and installing, designating parking signs like public parking, because I know people talk about we have a hard time finding a place to park, yet we do have a paved parking lot with striped lines next to the Bannon Chef. but no signage.
Somebody needs to do that.
Yeah, so, all these things, is what makes the Main Street area beautiful, right? Which, again, if this is, these things aren't being done by Main Street, it's just the marketing and promotion of things, then I'm just kinda curious, I know we've had a couple, walking, dreaming tours of what we wanna see downtown. We've pointed out a few things, I was part of that before, I know it's happened since I've left. Can we speak on anything, has anything come to fruition from those? You know, let's fill in, I remember specifically, the gaping hole that was next to, Chris's Barbershop and the Three Amigos and stuff like that, where people could trip off into that, you know, median stuff. I remember Main Street talking about, these are some areas that we could, you know, get some work done. Anything done with that?
I haven't fixed any holes or
Yeah.
potholes.
No, I understand. All right, so with all that being said, in light of the economic development side, because it's often talked about with Main Street that this is an economic arm, an economic development advancement, can you name a couple, I know we've already talked about it, you and I have talked about this, but can we name just one business that has, I know you said we're not recruiting, but one business that's coming, because it's like, that program has so much to offer, we decided to invest here versus anywhere else.
Didn't Stephanie just say that?
Well, she said that Libby invited her to lunch to talk to her, and she was her advocate, but I'm talking about, let's just say the last 12 months.
So, I mean, I'm a little confused.
Okay.
Tell me what you think.
Yeah. Okay.
Business, so if I go out and recruit 5 businesses today, I mean, I just don't see that in the role of Main Street to go out.
Well, I'm just trying to figure out,
recruit.
besides marketing.
And probably we have a little different opinion on what business development and.
Yeah, well, I'm just trying to be a good steward of, you know.
I get it, but, and you know, and I know there's issues, but you think about, if there wasn't people coming into town, the trash cans in the parking lots wouldn't be an issue.
No, I guess what I'm saying is that nobody's against those things, but those things aren't done by Main Street, because you just told me they weren't.
Yeah.
So if we decided that, you know what, we agree, we don't want to step backwards, but none of the things outside of advertising and running events, none of the things go away if we didn't have Main Street. If we didn't have Main Street, we have to find somebody to market and do events. Is that what I'm hearing?
Oh, I gotta say something. Can I say something?
Well, let me make a question, let me add a question up first.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Thomas brought up a question that comes to my mind. So you would regard Main Street as more of not recruiting the businesses, but making sure they stay when they get here, kind of like a chamber, and is that kind of the role that you?
Yeah, I would say at a high level, I would say that would be the role of Main Street, is make sure we helping create an environment and working with the partners and making sure that all the assets are working together. You know, because we don't just want folks, you know, coming and going to a show at Performing Arts Center. We want them eating in our restaurants and going in our stores, and, you know, if the show's at 7:30, we need to be promoting and letting those folks know what's going on, so they come at 5:30. So I think that's a big role of Main Street, yes.
Yeah, I don't think we're disagreeing. I very much think we need to market and do events. I'm not 100% certain that, I don't know exactly what we spent on this thing, but I think it's north of $100,000, because we put 45,000 into it, and then we have a full-time employee plus benefits. So I mean, you're investing over $120,000 or $100,000+. I don't disagree. We want the trash cans clean, we want the flags out, and we want landscaping to look good. All those things will keep on going. We definitely want to continue promotions and events, so that needs to continue to happen. I'm just not real certain that, considering the fact that we do send, or have been sending, and spending a lot of money on training for Main Street, but we're still 3 or 4 years into this, we're still missing people that are offset off of Main Street, like the 300 folks, like McLean's just talked about today. I'm sure if anybody showed up from the west side, on the west, close, further out, western end, they might say something, but I just really believe at the end of the day, what people talked about that they wanted to keep was not necessarily what Main Street does. It's the marketing and the promotion and the events that Main Street does. And that we can get behind.
I like what he's saying, and I
Yes.
think this is more, we're starting to get more into
Yes.
alignment.
Can I ask you a question real
I
quick?
could
The
recognize
promotion
you.
part,
Yeah.
the promotions include things like when the director gets multiple businesses together to pay for a single ad promotion kind of thing, correct? That's done because the director has a relationship with all of the businesses and the promotional pieces, the upstate South Carolina, all of the places that you can advertise. You pull those in and together so they can maximize their dollar, correct? That's been happening? Okay, also, the director knows events that are going on in each of the businesses so they can go video and make sure that those are on public media. Has that also been happening? Okay, a lot of what a director does, whether it's a Main Street manager or anybody else's manager, which is why I said we needed to have one 20 years ago, is they not only know the businesses and what's going on in them, they know what the city employees and what they can do and what they cannot do and who does what. They know the promotional people, so they know how to get in touch with people and how to combine resources so that individual businesses are not paying so much. So when Steph's talked about coming here and had one person to talk to that was able to talk to everybody else so that she could get her business going, that's exactly what a manager does.
That's one business though.
Yeah.
I think if you talk to some other businesses, you would find the same
Okay,
thing.
okay. We don't really give him crap. Ms. Melendez.
Just wanted to acknowledge, Mr. Booth, thank you for sharing all of this. I do think there's some alignment coming down as we reimagine what the economic development tools. So the Friends of the Main Street, I'm hearing, obviously I need to study more, a little bit more after this, to figure out what we're gonna do as we move forward. But this is the opportunity for our colleagues to share their thoughts, and then our committee will look into it, for that, so.
Mr. Thomas, did I cut you off on anything?
Oh, no. I think I pretty much got the answer to it. It's never been defined that we were a marketing and events-based program. I've actually heard the opposite, like we are not events-based.
Yeah, I'm not sure the Main Street program was born based on doing events. I'm not sure we have, we can't do an event every Thursday.
Oh, yeah,
Main Street.
I get it.
But I do think there's a handful of events that, I'm just saying, they've been successful.
Oh, yeah.
They brought people to our town. So whether you call it marketing or promotions, I think the role of Main Street is to get people into our business.
Sure. Well, and I don't.
So you call it business development,
Yeah,
marketing?
it's really, I don't want to get into
advertising?
semantics, it's just more or less, I think, especially as of the last 24 hours or so, it just seemed like we can't cut Main Street. Well, we ain't gonna cut everything you just said.
Yeah.
It might change its name, it needs to, it needs to expand. I mean, good grief, when we really specialize in what Walhalla has, I mean, we got side street businesses, we got businesses set off the main road, we got rentals like the depot and the chapel that could be used for conferences and retreats and obviously weddings. We got a history of people eloping here. The Wander Rag, needing a point person to help lead and fundraise for this kind of thing. Giving a better idea from the current eyesore of what our food truck park looks like. Of course events, but all things Stump House. I'm a business owner, and I would actually say the Golden Goose is not on Main Street. The Golden Goose is up in the mountains. That's what needs to be taken care of, because when people go there, that's more people know about that than probably any business we got on Main Street. And if we're working towards making sure we're taking care of the Golden Goose, they will come to these places. They will eat and shop and all the different things that we're really looking for to do. So I don't want to bore you any more than that. I don't think we're actually disagreeing. I think if the council decides that we're gonna, it's not like we're not gonna fund marketing and things like that. We just might go a different path in how we're gonna support this moving forward.
Well, I think the exciting thing is it's being talked about.
Oh, yeah.
And I think the right people are at the table, and it's actually been fun.
Yeah.
I mean, we disagree, but.
I don't think we actually disagree, but it's okay.
All right, Mr. Jones.
I'm thinking on this and studying on this, it does need to be tweaked out, I think, but I'm still just not sure what direction we need to go in right this second.
Mr. Pace.
I really didn't want to get into this conversation tonight, but since my name was brought up, I'm going to. I'm gonna tell you a story, and, when I campaigned in 2019, part of that campaign was to push for events in town to where people could come together. I grew up here on Main Street. You think about the 70s and early 80s, you couldn't drive through downtown Walhalla because of the teenagers. And I wanted that environment back. And as soon as I got on council, Libby was working here part-time. And she was a go-getter. I think probably about March or so, we hired her full-time and implemented this program. But part of my campaign, she stepped right in there and helped me do. I wanted cruise-ins back in town. I wanted hot rods in town and people eating ice cream and looking at cars and talking. And we did that. And the first year, the brown square up there, you couldn't hardly walk around. Danny Edwards is sitting in the crowd. He was up there several times. He can vouch for that. I mean, when we had if we had a Jeep night, a special event called, you couldn't get in there for the vehicles. You know, if we had Mopar night, I mean, it was something different every month, but we did it. I did it, and I had help. They did, and then they did promotions, got some grants. I and a few other help went up there and put them posts in the ground. And it was beautiful. We had sails, colors, lights under them, but no maintenance. Yeah, I did it. I'm not able to do that stuff, but I did it. And then the next year, it kind of backed off, the help. And it moved to a different night, because they didn't like being up there helping on Saturday. And then the next year, I was by myself. And when I asked about it, Main Street don't do events. Stood right there in front of me, the current mayor, and the administrator, and said, we just don't do them. And then last year, I was totally by myself, and now I'm not doing it. It's been 100 people called me and asked me, are we not doing the cars no more? No, because I don't have help. My vision of this story is we had all this help and all this advertising and pushing downtown. There was something going on constantly until Main Street brainwashed her that they don't do that kind of stuff. And tonight is the first time I've heard a logical explanation to what your vision is that Main Street, and I'm saying Main Street because that's what you're called, that you finally said something that intrigues me to want to try it again. Because I was stepped on and I didn't like it.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Thank you. Mr. King. Each opinion up here is valid.
I see things like Josh, we've talked about this, and, Yellowstone National Park, if you could been out there, if you can picture it, all the towns around Yellowstone just blossom because of Yellowstone National Park's there. Jackson, Wyoming, Cody, Wyoming, Gardner, Montana, West Yellowstone, I think it was Montana too. And they just blossom. And you wouldn't have to offer an incentive to any of it. It's gonna blossom because you're sitting there with Yellowstone. Everybody's coming to Yellowstone. And we're gonna talk about this incentive ordinance here in a little bit. And so I'm like, we ain't paying anybody to come to, and I don't pay anybody to move into Cody, Wyoming. I was just spent 4th of July out there this past year. It is fantastic. And that's what we got up on the mountain. Nobody has what we have up here. That's why it ranks as the top tourist destination in the upstate. I don't know if it still does, but it used to. I haven't paid attention in a long time, but it used to. And now we got this mountain bike park, and the foresight of the folks that went into that, I thought was fantastic. So we only have so much money. And I look at it, man, our employees are suffering. They are suffering. They're so underpaid. And I'm like, if we only got X amount of money, We don't have town without them. It's a cash cow, like he said, up there. It could help pay him, but it's not here. It's there. People aren't going to Gardner, Montana for Gardner, Montana. They're going to Gardner, Montana because it's on at footstep, the doorstep of Yellowstone. And that's what I think we have. We're at the doorstep of these mountains, and then we just happen to own part of them.
Yeah, and just to be clear, I ain't opposed to the marketing and the events, by no means, keep them coming. But, that's,
We have to live here too, we want our community.
That's
We want
right.
to live as good as
that's
possible.
exactly right.
We want a great community to live in, and we want a great, I love walking downtown and seeing the stores and the restaurants and the flourishing, and where I live is getting better and better, I want to keep it that way. Mr. Holliday.
You know, we've talked about this before, I don't see the return of investment being tied to Main Street South Carolina. I mean, a majority of the work that goes for the director or whatever else is making sure that we're getting accreditation through a program that I don't see a return. So, you know, I'm with y'all. When I first ran, I wanted to walk to everything I needed in town. And that was not possible when I ran in, I don't know what year that was. My wife and I moved back here after she went to school, and we chose to live here because it's where we grew up. I mean, it's a great place. Those events that have been happening, and I've been a part of a lot of those things. You know, I do wanna see that. Businesses have grown.
Yep.
When I was on council the first time, there were windows boarded up. We had thrift stores that were failing. So things have changed a lot in the past, 15 years that we've been back. So I do wanna see those events. You know, I think that's important. I think the marketing is important. You know, you're talking about Yellowstone, well, they market that. That's marketed.
That's right.
And that's how you get folks there.
Yeah.
Because we travel all over the place. You know, we go in the summertime, we spent 2.5 weeks in a camper van with 2 boys, and I'm surprised my wife didn't leave me after that. But we traveled to national parks, and we stayed in those towns.
Yeah.
And the first thing I did before we get to those towns is look, what does that town have to offer? You know, what kind of special restaurant, or what kind of things do they have? What do they have for our boys? And we're in Cheyenne, Wyoming, seeing a gunfight right beside the train, that's coming through town. So it's like Old West. So we look for those things, and that's what I think we need here too.
Yep.
To promote our town, to promote the bike park, Stump House. I mean, I worked at the state park in the summer, and used to take folks to the Stump House tunnel, go all the way to the back of it, show them the falls. And that's folks from all over the country.
Now, let's go cut the lock off of that tonight. Cut the lock off. Yeah. Open that sucker up.
No gun fights.
No gun fights. But no, I mean, that's what I would see, and, if we wanna rename Main Street or whatever we wanna do, but as Main Street, South Carolina, just like you said, you asked her to give us a 10-second speech. I didn't really get anything out of that. So, and I'm not saying anything against her with that, but I just see that we are constantly trying to jump through hoops to get an accreditation. I don't know what we're getting out of that accreditation.
And it takes a lot of time and energy. I'm not sure our energy couldn't be better spent.
Spend on other things.
Now, if there's a way for us to stay engaged, where we can just get use their resource, and I don't mean it like that, but.
No,
where
but
we can take advantage of their resources, I guess, that doesn't sound illegal.
And
But anyway.
Some of those resources could be a municipal association.
That's right, but I'll be honest with you, I mean, I'm not allegiant to Main Street, and I'm not, our allegiance needs to be to Walhalla's business owners here, and the people who wanna come into town, and our allegiance shouldn't be to a set standard. We can't keep making the same mistakes and expect different outcomes. That's pretty foolish. So I think we're at a great crossroads where we can, I think we have the right people at the table and having the right conversations and doing them in the right way we need to fix it. But that's me speaking.
Well, we have folks that have invested in this town.
That's right.
I mean, and that's the thing. We have folks that have invested. Some spent life savings to open a business up.
That's right.
And that's not only a benefit to our city's infrastructure and everything else, because the taxes they're paying and the money they're bringing in this town help pay for everything else.
See, we're not even having this discussion without them.
Yeah. Residents too.
Well,
Oh,
no,
yeah,
I-
you
no,
know,
I agree.
residents,
No, I
they've
agree.
invested everything
Yeah.
here.
I agree, we did, we moved back here.
That's everything I own is right here in Walhalla, South Carolina, all my children.
So, okay, so, is there, well, first of all, I'll say that the concerns that you heard everybody express, I think I can safely say we're speaking as one voice about those concerns.
Absolutely.
But, I think I can at least say from my part that your presentation this evening, is something that gives me food for thought, and I promise you I will be thinking about that.
And I've had a ton of them, so.
I like what you said tonight. I personally, I like what you said tonight.
I'm just glad I'm on this side of the dance.
I think you'll find this council is dedicated to
No doubt.
doing the right thing,
No
and,
doubt.
we're dedicated to making sure Walhalla succeeds.
That's awesome.
Okay, any final shots, any final words?
No shots.
No shots. No shots.
Any final, comments? Okay, let's, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's move on, that's the end of the administrator's report, Ms. Myers.
Thank you, sir. I will try to keep this as brief as possible. Just a couple of things I'd like to highlight. One, since we are honoring in just a few weeks for Peace Officers Day, and because we talked about some of our first responders and our staff, I'd like to brag on them. SafeWise has ranked Walhalla as the 13th safest in the state. We're the only one in Oklahoma County, and we're one of a few in this tri-county upstate region. Clemson and Central Honey Path also made it, but we're in good company, so I would love to brag on them for that honor. Let's see here. The restrooms at the Ross Mountain entrance, we were talking about Stump House, that is projected to be May 2nd. So we should have restrooms in place by May 2nd. We anticipate that the greenway construction should be done around May 1st. I know there's been some calls that we've had about, oh, you just put it down and now you're digging it back up. Okay. We had some areas that were damaged, on either the concrete did not set correctly, there were already cracks in there, or it was damaged in some other way. The contractor is making that right. That is not additional money, that is them making it right, so that when they turn it over to us, it is, what we contracted for them, and they're making sure that we are, satisfied with the work that they have done. We have some additional signage on the one-way street at South Catherine. We talked with John, he's got some staff out there, so there's some new signage to make sure that people aren't, just from total recall memory, going ahead and turning right out of that parking lot. It is a left turn only, just a reminder there. Let's see here. We did meet, or I met with 2 potential developers for the city, one on Main Street, one off of 28, and then 3 additional prospective businesses. Those would have been small, those 3 would be small businesses. Last week, we did host the first Oklahoma Municipal Mayor Summit, the first time all 5 have gotten together that they could think of. And then finally, you'll see a little sticky note on your side of the dais with 3 dates. I would love for y'all to let me know if you are available any of those dates, so we can schedule our next budget workshop, because we have a upcoming fiscal year budget.
What day in May is that? It just says May on mine.
May 2nd, my apologies, May 2nd.
I vote for April 25th at 5 o'clock. That doesn't work, I'm certainly open to entertaining.
I know you said May 2nd.
May 2nd, yeah.
May 2nd?
May 2nd.
The 25th is a Saturday.
No, it's both, but all those
It's
are
a Thursday.
Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Tuesdays and
That's a
Thursdays.
I give them Tuesday.
May 2nd? That works for me. 5 o'clock.
Does anybody have a problem with May 2nd?
Not that I know.
What's the earliest y'all are proposing? You said 5?
5 o'clock, so we can all be there.
You
say, how about you?
That's what I'm
Already,
looking
can you
now,
do?
May second, yeah, earlier, like 3, 4.
You do four?
Will this be at the depot or here at City?
We have a couple of screens now, so y'all are welcome to come in here, I'll sit over here and you can just go through it.
Yeah.
4 o'clock then.
4 o'clock, does that work for
Let's see what
everybody?
everybody else.
No.
Alright, May 2nd at 4 o'clock. Thank you.
Do you wanna just mention, so it's publicly noticed about the Community Clean Day?
Yes, on April the 27th, we are, trying to do a very last minute, encourage the community to come out and clean up our city. This is in conjunction with a couple of other municipalities that are doing this at the same time. Unfortunately, we were a little behind the 8 ball with this when we found out, so we are not doing a larger event. However, we do want to, communicate to our residents and encourage them to go out and clean up. It's also Earth Day month as well, and as you have reached out to keep a kind of beautiful, and they've offered some assistance with that, so we have some connections there. Our sanitation staff is on, has been notified that there'll be some additional bags out on the side of the road over the weekend, so they will be able to make arrangements to pick those up on Monday morning. We weren't able to pull together again a full event. We will be looking forward to doing that next year, but we did want to go ahead and take advantage and take pride in our city and encourage our residents to help us take care of it. Thank you, sir.
You receive a marketing flyer soon.
Yes. And you'll also notice, something new, you'll notice some transfers in there. These are all lower than the threshold, so you do not need to be approving these, but I did, recently implement a little bit of a newer policy that transfers do need to be done, and that I wanted those to be presented to you, so you are notified ongoing during the year when we have had to make some adjustments. If anything is over that 10,000 threshold, we will bring it to finance committee and then to council, just like we did last week and we're doing tonight. But that is something new, so anytime we will transfer the previous month, you will start seeing these in your packet, just so you are aware. Just trying to be transparent here.
Couple of points that I have from your administrator's report. Just wanna state this to everyone. Our Public Works Department picked up 402 tons. 402 tons of garbage, brush, and waste in the month of March. That's a huge amount. Another one that struck caught my attention, our fire department answered 135 calls in March. 75 of those 135 calls, over half their total, were EMS and rescue calls.
And our sanitation department was able to obtain a almost $24,000 grant from DHEC for the mosquito control equipment and products. So we will have some new
Well done.
equipment and materials when the time comes in the next couple of months.
All right. Does anyone else have any questions, comments about the administrative report? Okay, we're gonna go into 5th year now. It's almost 4 o'clock, so we're gonna go through these and, okay, second final reading, in public review of ordinance 2024-07, an ordinance to amend chapter 310 water and sewers. I'll open for public comment. Does anyone have any public comment on this ordinance? Any public comment? All right, hearing none, public comment is ended. Do I have a motion that we
Make a motion, we would accept this.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Is there any discussion on that? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, the next, two ordinances, ordinance 2024-08, an ordinance to amend chapter 27 economic development incentive program. First of all, I guess I'll open for comment. Do we have any public comment on that ordinance? Any public comment? Going once, going twice, all, no. Public comment session is closed. Okay, motion to accept.
Motion.
Second,
Second.
discussion?
Yes, I think I was the only one against it last time, at least I wanna go on the record in saying, and this comes in with what I said when we were talking about Main Street and the park up there. I don't think we need to offer any economic incentives for anyone to do business in this town. This is a spot to be. And,
I think this needs more development. I think Ms. Myers, we've spoken about this, and this needs to be included in a larger economic development program. I don't think he's ready for prime time right now.
but I'll make a motion to table it.
I will second the motion. Any more discussion? This needs more work.
I agree.
Okay, all those in favor of, instead of tabling it, Mr. King, would you, entertain a motion to, refer it back to committee?
I just shouldn't keep, I shouldn't table it, I'm sorry, hold on tabling, if you don't want tabling, you guys can make
Okay,
another
we
one.
got a motion, I'm gonna withdraw my second to table it, because I want to go to committee, so.
Okay.
I think we need to defer, not table, defer.
Refer it to committee.
Well, if it dies for lack of a second, you can make that motion.
I have a motion to move it sent to committee.
All right, I'll second it.
Okay. Motion, what did you second?
One second to table it.
The table, okay.
Yeah.
Tabling it just throws to the side of this table for 2 meetings, it goes away.
Yeah, I think it needs more work than what we could probably even get done the next little committee meeting.
Well, it wouldn't have to be next committee, it would be
Yeah.
before we establish any kind of economic development plan, so we got a couple of months.
It can be picked up anytime
That's why I thought
anybody
it
wants
picked
to
up
pick
like
it up.
once. I mean, why wouldn't it be able to be picked up?
There's no reason. It can
Would
be-
have to go, it would, correct me on this if I'm wrong, but I believe it would have to go back through first and second reading if you table it and it dies after 2 meetings.
With this particular one, no, sir, it doesn't have to die, at the end of the year, it would.
At the end of the year.
There are some statutes such as a rezoning, now that one does have to be picked up within a certain time frame or it,
Okay.
or that's,
So on this, if we vote to table it,
yes, sir.
can it be picked up by the committee without council's direction?
Council can, if it doesn't direct, the committee can still pick this up and say, we wanna talk about it, with or without a deferral.
Is everybody okay with that approach? Okay, motion, table, second, with the understanding the committee can pick it up as they work on our economic development plans and continue, okay? All those in favor of that approach? Aye. Okay. Second, final motion, ordinance 2024-09, ordinance to amend the 2024 budget fee schedule, open for public comment. Is there any public comment on this particular ordinance? Public comment? Hearing none, the period for public comment is closed. Is there a motion to accept it?
I'll say Captain in there.
Ms. Myers, if we don't move to accept it, could you take that back? Could we make a motion that, is there a motion, could we make a motion to take that back and refine it further? I know you have some definitive ideas about how to make it more accommodating to the entire community.
I will do as council directs. I will say that with this being the end of April, if you would like to include it in budget discussions, we can do that. Because these will have to be reviewed for the fiscal year starting July anyway. So you're welcome to do that if you'd like, or we can pick it back up in committee and talk about it again, or you can tell us today.
Let's defer it to, I'll make a motion to defer it to budget discussions. Because we'll all be together and this is part of the budget.
I'll second that.
Motion and second?
I got a discussion. So, we're gonna just add this on to the
It's
budget
part of- It'll be
discussion?
part of it, cause we gotta come up with I think there's.
Can't we just come up with it and just include it in the budget discussion, and we don't have one extra thing? I'm just thinking out loud.
Well, here's where I'm at, and there's a few, we've got it set up for a nonprofit to get once a month free usage at the depot. This is kind of what this involves a lot of, and we've got a few that has done a lot for the community that meets more than once a month. And I think they need to have that access still that they've been having.
The idea is to make this more,
I mean, I've talked to some of them, and I finally got a definition. I'll use the Rotary, cause they use it every week. You know, did they give a lot to the city of Walhalla last year? No. But what did they give to the community? It was phenomenal amount,
the citizens of Walhalla.
you know, and
See, that, now you're talking my language.
that's why
I think
I
we
don't
just ought
wanna
to be fair across
I
the
just
board.
don't wanna cut them out, you know, cause if
I'm with you.
we start charging these people
with
that's
you.
not charging for their other people, they're not gonna be, just like the lady with the dancers. She does that out of her heart.
Well, I'm not disagreeing with you, I'm just saying, whatever we're gonna do, make it even for everybody. Is a nonprofit any more valuable than a resident? I don't think so.
This is already encourages me, this already makes the point that we need to put this into the budget committee discussion and, make sure that we have the right answer when we do it. So, there's a motion and a second, well, the motion was to put it into, did I hear that right? Put it into the budget? Okay, is there a second on that?
What, we're done? Yeah, he seconded it.
Okay, any more discussion?
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, my discussion on it is that so it goes into the committee, and so they get to banner it around, but I'm not in that committee. And
Yeah,
so, am I in that committee?
But you're gonna be in the next budget commission.
Budget, it's gonna be the budget
The May
workshop.
second.
Yeah, okay.
Right?
Okay, it's gonna be at the budget workshop.
Yes.
Oh, I get the band.
Yes.
No, yeah, that's what I just feel like, it's just if you do it just to a committee, but that's right.
No.
We're all, it's gonna be in the budget.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
All right, I can go for that.
Okay.
All
Thanks.
those- That's important. Everybody in favor of that, raise your hand.
Aye.
Something different. Opposed? Okay, that takes care of those. We have no first reading of ordinances, discussion, and or action items. Ms. Myers, wage and compensation study.
Thank you, sir. This is on here from last month. I did share an email with y'all of a quote that we received. It was much higher than the 10 that we were anticipating. It was, just before it was 75. So because of that large number, I have been trying my best to gather some data and do one internally. I think I did share some information I've gotten so far. I'm still trying to gather more information. And once the budget is moving, closer to completion, then I would really love the opportunity this fall to do a much more in-depth wage and comp study that, right now, I'll just be honest, I can't do that and also do both at the same time. Otherwise, it won't be a very good product.
Can I ask a couple of questions?
Absolutely, sir.
Maybe on that, I always wanna get this out. Do we have, do you feel confident that we can do this in-house? $75,000 is, what, 2 police cars, so, see how I'm thinking nowadays?
Yeah.
So do you feel confident that we can get this, done in-house?
After June 30th, yes, sir.
And your preliminary research on it,
Yes, sir.
because this is important for the budget process.
Mhm.
Your preliminary research on it, how far off base are we on, department heads and people that are working, for the departments? Are we significantly off base? I know we're off base, but I wanna know about how far off base we are, because we're gonna be talking budget and finance.
Right, it's gonna depend on the specific role. In some cases, we are right on target, in some cases, we're 3 to 5% off. We do have some in which we are greater than 20% off, but those are more of the exception, not the norm.
So normally we're 3 to 5% off.
If anything, there are some that we appear to be right within a range.
What percentage are we 20% off? How many people? I mean, what number of employees? 10%?
Probably 3 to 4.
3 or 4 people?
Correct.
And the rest of them are within 3 to 5% of what you're finding so far?
Maybe 10, maybe a couple over 10. But we're doing, all right. We do need to look at adjustments, but we're not as, dire as I feared.
Yeah, well, we're gonna find out. We don't give a raise that needs to be done. We're gonna find out, because when the budget goes through and you don't give the raise, because they didn't get a raise last year, cost of living is 8% in food. And that means they went down 8%. And we don't get a sizable raise, we're gonna find out if it's agreeable or not. But that's too late.
Cost of living was the year before, was 8%.
8% cost of living this past year, it was 8% in food, which when you're on the lower end of the economic spectrum is the biggest part
So
of
you're
your
saying in
economy.
2023 was 8% cost of living?
8% in food in 2023, 5 point something. Now, this was up to March last year because that's when I had the latest thing. But that's what it was, but we're not gonna wanna miss this. We better make a real shot of they can see we're serious about this and we give them a raise. Cause you're only getting one chance, because you pass this budget and you don't do it, come July, you may not have staff, you may not have much.
No, we are still including, attention to it, and I have proposals for that, we'll hear more about it in a second. But as far as we were afraid we were 10 to 20 across the board off, that is.
It sounds like we're pretty close, but it does sound like we need some, every year the CPI should be taken into account.
Yes, sir.
And I think that's always important for employees, as much as possible. I mean, yeah, I mean, I think everybody appreciates that, because it does erode the income and taking into account CPI is important. But I'm glad to see we're that close. We just gotta make it an aspirational goal, as Mr. Kenyon noted, to keep moving forward with, so it doesn't get eroded. Any more discussion? Sidewalk RFQ.
Yes, so we did an RFQ for the, upgrade to some of our sidewalks. This was, a plan that was presented before the city funds, committee, and we were awarded some funding in order to do that, so we have our RFQ out. We did receive one, submission back. I will say this is the second time we sent it out. We did not get anything back the first time. This is, the proposal is $569,246. This is with HGH Construction. We have worked with them before. We have been satisfied with what they've done for us in the past. It is roughly 150, give or take, over what our state fund appropriation is. So if we were to go ahead and move forward, then we have a couple options. We can use some of our ARP funding that we still have left, which does cover infrastructure, and sidewalk is part of our infrastructure. We could potentially go back and ask for an increase in appropriation from C-Fund because of just the increase in cost that we've had over a couple of years. Unfortunately, because this one was approved a couple of years ago, I'm not certain if it will approve it or not. So we need to be prepared to have to use some of our own funding to make this one happen.
Where is this at? What part of the sidewalk is this?
If you look on the second page.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It'll show the length and the different locations, so, for instance, Saffron, the Cedar to Poplar, on the Chestnut, all the way down to Johnson.
I'm sorry. Nice.
So this is an old bid, is what you're saying?
No, sir, the bid is new, the appropriation is older.
We don't have enough money to cover it unless we use ARPA funds. And those have to be spent.
They need to be obligated, yes, sir, and we need to have them spent by 2026.
sidewalk from mine and Tim's and Mr. King's house.
Thankfully, we have no sidewalk out
Part of that, some of that office going out 183.
Potentially.
Do you need a motion to go back and take that, just to see if we can get more funds?
If you want to go ahead and accept this one with direction of how to find the additional funding, or if you wanna see if you can get funding first before you approve this, it's up to you.
Where else will we look for funds?
Water, that's all we got, that's all we got.
Thomas. But I think we should talk about where, we can find some other funds, but.
Does ACOG have any resources to extend?
I mean, you mean as far as another grant or something? Potentially, but if they do, it'll be another maybe 6 months before we even know.
So
Right,
after,
but that could be allocated though back to if we were to use funds internally, and then like in the meantime, no?
Those would have to be approved before the project begins.
if we use all the funds that we know about that are available, how much left over do we need to come up with?
Roughly 150.
Well, I thought you said you were gonna use that AR.
No, that is, yes, we have a little over 400,000
Oh, okay.
appropriated for the sidewalk project.
And that included that money. And we
From
just,
CFA.
just make sure I understand. We got C funds and we have the ARPA. Combined, that's the 400?
No, that is the 569. That's the entire project.
Okay, and how much in ARPA do we have?
In ARPA, I'll get to you.
I think 700 and something.
We spent a little bit of that this year with
So that's what I'm missing. Is there a problem with us using that and just covering it and moving forward?
Yeah, we're gonna have to balance the budget.
Okay, well, that's what I'm asking.
If you're gonna give a raise.
Guess we're gonna take this one.
Okay, so if we move forward with, we've got 400,000 roughly in the ARPA fund right now.
Yes, I mean, the other thing we can do is we can cut this project and we can only use the roughly 414 that we have. And if that means that we don't get to the last 2-3 sections, then we don't get to the last 2-3 sections.
Hold on 1 second though, I would not be in favor of, if we had $400,000 in ARPA funds, that's one-time money and it goes away. And we can't use that, if we have to use a little bit of that to cover expenditure, like a few thousand maybe, but I would not be in favor of trying to spend $200,000 that we don't have coming in again next year to balance our budget this year. I don't think that's a wise move, so.
I don't either, but that's how we did it last year, and I was opposed to it then, but you find a way to do it otherwise,
All right,
I'm
but
with you.
That's what we're
How
working
often
on.
can you get C funds? And is it, you're applying for it? Is that,
There's a rotation with each of the municipalities in the county. We have an award out right now, so by practice, we do not go back and ask for additional until we've used the award that we
yeah,
have.
well, that's what I'm thinking. So it's like, well, like anybody else, let's use the 400 we got, and see how far it takes us. And then we come back to it.
What's the project? This year, next year?
Well, you gotta apply for it, and it rotates.
Here's the thing, and it has nothing to do with the city staff. This was awarded 2 years ago, and it got pushed on the back burner. The county appropriated us that $400,000 for this project 2 years ago, and we just now decided to do it. So, we kicked the can down the road per se, and it's nobody in this room did it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can't go ask for more money until we've spent what they've already gave us.
I think we're in agreement, yeah. I'm saying let's spend what we got to get this
No
project as
no
far as we
can
can.
kicking on this council.
No,
No can kicking.
no,
No
no.
can straight on.
No. I'd say we just do what we can do. We can make a decision on, or they tell us what it is, or we
I
find.
second, you made a motion?
I
Can I
make a
second as chair? Can I second his motion? I second.
What's the motion?
To move forward with what the money we have and see
Do
how
as
far it
much
takes
of
us.
that, those sidewalks as we can, is what you're saying.
Yep.
Your motion is to use the 150?
No, she said we have 400,000 or so.
Right.
From C funds.
No. Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yes. And so I'm saying, if that's all we got that we can use for that right now, let's use it and go as far as we can walk. And then we'll apply for some more the next go around.
I'm good with that.
I'm good with that too. Let's do it. And the other the 150 shortfall, you had proposed taking from the ARPA funds that have to be spent anyway somewhere within a year, we can use those ARPA
We
funds.
should use that on infrastructure.
Bam, okay.
Yeah, that's what I agree.
We're good.
So you second,
I second. More discussion, any
Just,
discussion on this?
I mean, I
You
think.
better say it again, exactly what you want to do.
I make a motion, we use, you got it,
No,
okay.
I'm still discussing.
Okay,
So try to make a compromise plan on that where you're cutting that will have the least impact on foot traffic.
We'll go out and we'll look at the ones, that have the most cracks or unevenness, trip hazards, things like that, and we'll prioritize those. If it's more of, they need to be replaced, but maybe there's not a safety issue,
Yes.
we'll do those.
Okay.
Away from priority.
And then we go immediately, turn around after we do that, and look for more C funds for things.
Cause we have a paving one coming up too.
yeah,
I don't see what's wrong with
we
that.
start knocking out projects.
Okay, that's okay.
So you measure, you second.
Hey, any more discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Yay! All right, request for transfer.
Yes, so this comes to you with a recommendation from the finance committee. It is to authorize a transfer of $30,000 over the 3,000 threshold, from some unused salary in both administration and community development when there was a changeover in position, so it was open for a period of time. We have some additional funding there in order to fund 3 full-time firefighters. In this year, because we had a lack of, a filling of full-time, we did use part-time in order to make sure we could cover our shifts and give them the support and the rest that they needed. However, that means those funds were used up, so now we have got certified full-time applicants that have come in and are seeking employment, but we need to make sure we can cover them through the end of the year. So it's not increasing the full-time number of personnel, it will get us to the 11, and that was what was approved in the budget. It's just that we had to make it with part-time, and therefore we use some of the funds. So we're requesting that the 30,000 be transferred to cover for the remainder of this year, and it has already been taken into account as we draft the budget for fiscal year 2025.
Make a motion to approve the request.
Second.
Okay, motion second, any discussion? Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Do I hear a motion that we go into executive session?
We'll take 5.
Okay. Motion to take 5 minutes.
I make a motion to go into executive session.
Second. Okay. All those in favor, executive session after the break. We'll be back at, 26 minutes. Team working on without all our hands.
I know.